like even, you know, after the game, you're thinking who's man of the match here. I know Declan McCurry did get man of the match, probably was my pick during the game, but there was so many more candidates. Really, like I was referencing, obviously there was lots of shouts for Niall Morgan, Michael McCarron, Padraig Hampsey, Petey Hart, Conor Myler. So, you know, on All Ireland final, Aaron, to have about 6 or 7 nominees for a man of the match, it is that's a serious statistic by itself. Like, I know Mayo did have some decent enough performances. The likes of Lee Keegan stepped up, but what I found odd was Páirc Ó Hora coming off in a fairly. That was a very odd decision with James Horn along the line. I couldn't really understand that. Maybe he was fatigued, was he injured? I'm not too sure. A bit of clarification on that would be nice. But, you know, Tyrone, they're not going away, Aaron, and that was a serious performance Saturday night. And like, so many players playing. Like Matty, like I'm looking at the program. Like Matty Donnelly was fantastic once again, and. Yeah, really, Aaron, 1 to 15 lads, as the saying, came off the bench, top class.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and like what you said there, so many options for you know, man of the match, and even for footballer of the year as well. Like, you could really go down a bit of a rabbit hole trying to choose which Tyrone player. You know, you could look at Darren McCurry, then you could go with Kieran McGeary. Padraig Hampsey probably deserves a shout. Conor Myler is definitely in the conversation. Even Noah Morgan as well, to a certain extent, probably gets in that conversation. There's probably even 1 or 2 players that I'm not met, like Ronan McNamee as well. I thought had a very good game. Like, he got that block on Aidan O, kept him fairly quiet throughout the entirety of the game. And in general, like for Tyrone, like defensively as well, like when you think back to the league game, they conceded 6 goals against Kerry. Now, fair enough, that was a game in Killarney where obviously Tyrone had to travel the entire way down, and it was a game that essentially meant nothing because there was going to be no league final anyway. But the fact that they've turned it around and just improved so much from then, like it is quite incredible, really.
I look at it is, and I suppose you learn more in defeat. And, you know, Tyrone are the perfect example of that game against Kerry in the league. They really shored up the defence, and they were just absolutely brilliant. They were so good, and like that even I know Tyrone can come on the last couple of minutes as well, but even like the lads, it was just such a good defensive performance once again. And like, I know you're referencing Ronan McNamee there a couple of seconds ago. He had another very, very good game. There's just such a calm and presence about McNamee as well, because even when he's coming out with the ball, he wins ball inside. He just shores up the whole defence. He's so good at it. All his passing is just so pinpoint the whole time. And he's even in the reckoning for Player of the Year. I think definitely an All-Star anyway. And it was just such a good performance. They could just be so proud of it. Conor Patrick's catch in the middle of the field for Darren McCurry's goal. Route 1 kick by Niall Morgan. Conor Patrick straight into the pause, up the field straight away. Like, I've seen someone saying today that a lot of teams around the country should really be adapting that, because it seems to be the way forward. Big long ball out to the big man in the middle of the field, get it going and have runs off his shoulder, pump the ball into full forward line, and away you go. So Route 1 does seem to be the best way to go for a lot of teams, and it's worked for Tyrone. But yeah, just a star-studded performance, Aaron, and it just goes to show, and statement we made earlier on, when you could bring on the likes of Dereck and Cathal McShane, Hugh Pat McGeary, like Ronan O'Neill. He's a serious forward. He wasn't even looked at for Saturday. Like, imagine if maybe, I don't know, is he fit or not, or is he just not in contention? He's just another serious option to have for Tyrone as well. So littered with talent, Aaron, and these boys aren't going away too quickly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like with Tyrone, I still think there's actually improvement in them. Like, when you really look at it, like Cathal McShane is obviously coming back from a long-term injury. You think back to 2019, he was a starter. He was one of their main players. Like, he was the player that you'd rely on. Now he's coming off the bench. Like, he's providing that you know, kind of game-changing attitude. I'm sure next year when he's fully fit and he's, you know, another year under his belt, he'll be, you know, trying to nail down a starting position. And like what you said there, like, you've got, you know, Ronan O'Neill in there, you've Paul Donaghy coming through the ranks. Lee Brennan can't seem to get a look in at the moment, and he's done very well at club level over the past couple of years. So like for Tyrone, there is still improvement in them, which is kind of crazy, because they've just won the All-Ireland. And to think Conor McKenna as well, who in the final missed a couple of chances that you'd normally see him scoring, he's probably another player that could improve again next year if he can get back to the 2020 form that we've seen him in. So like, there's still another level for Tyrone to get to. And even at that, as a Dublin fan myself, you know, it's kind of funny, we were all discussing Kerry and Kerry are coming and all the rest. I feel like Tyrone have just come under the radar, and all of a sudden here they are, and they could be a team now that could really, you know, I'm not saying they're going to win the All-Ireland next year, but they could be a team that's going to be thereabouts, and they're going to be a tough proposition to beat now over the next couple of years.
100%, 100%, and like it suited Tyrone down to the absolute ground. I know, like whatever happened for them a couple of weeks with the COVID case and everything, but if you think about it, you nailed it there. Like all the talk about was just about Mayo, Dublin, and Kerry, and Tyrone have this just brilliant knack of just hiding in the shell and just working hard by themselves. And look, they're all Ireland champions, and no one gave them a chance this year. No one gave them a chance against Kerry. People obviously gave them a chance on Saturday, but they were still 50-50 on the fence. I think at the start of the year, Tyrone were 50-1 to win the All Ireland. So that just goes to show they just came out of nowhere this year, can never really say. And it's obviously, like, as well as that, like, look, we're talking with Brian Dewar and Fergal Logan's first year on the job, and look what's after happened. All Ireland champions, Ulster champions, serious stuff. Like, it's a serious story in itself. Like, and you know, like for Brian Dewar, like to win it as a player, to win it now as a manager is just an incredible feat. Fergal Logan's been around the block a long time. He knows what it's like to win big games. So it's a serious achievement by like all of them. Like, and like I suppose even when you look at Tyrones' journey going into this game, or like on Saturday, the better selves, the bet Donegal, the bet Kerry, like a very stiff test against Donegal and Kerry both games. So you know, two are obviously the big contenders the last couple of years, and realistically, I know they only bet Kerry by a point, but they really probably did always look like winning that game. They bet a very favourite Donegal team, so that's serious preparation going into an All-Ireland final. You know, and unfortunately, you know, Mayo obviously bet Dublin in the semi-final, and like a lot of people have kind of been saying to me, that was for like the final for them. Unfortunately, me and you said that like a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, I think that seemed to be Mayo's final big game. I just think they must have just too much preparation went into that game, and maybe not enough for this Tyrone game. But yeah, that's where it's at in Donegal. Or sorry, Tyrone are All Ireland champions.
And I want to discuss about Conor Moyler in particular, because like what a player and what a performance he had. Like, I suppose it's not too like, and that's one of the most interesting things about this Tyrone team is you've got, you know, Conor Moyler, who's playing in around the half forward line, playing at wing forward. But we were discussing, you know, before the game that he could end up playing a fullback because he's a player that can play all over the pitch. You've got Niall Sludden, who's playing at 12. And then, you know, he's getting a goal line clearance at one stage in the game in the first half. Like, they've so many players that could play in around the half forward line and then in around the fence as well. And I think that's something that really seems to be one of the main reasons why they've gone on and won this All Ireland, is because they have such versatility and they're such a hard team to mark, like, especially for those Mayo lads, when you've got Niall Sludden, who's, you know, bursting forward, scoring points, you know, getting in around the full forward area at different stages, but then he's also making goal line clearances. Like, it's such a hard team to keep track of. And Conor Moyler and Niall Sludden in particular, I think they both deserve a lot of praise for that. Thank you very much for watching this clip of the very most recent podcast uploaded on the channel. If you do enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe so you're notified every time I do drop a new upload. And it does very much help the channel grow and help the channel reach more people. So I very much would appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the video. You can also follow the page on Instagram, and you can also follow on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. You can follow on all social media platforms as well. So if you're not already followed over there, go over there and give the page a follow to help the channel grow as well. So I do very much appreciate anyone tuning in, and I'll see you all later.